The evening air was still, broken only by the faint chime of silver against porcelain. You sat opposite Jungkook at the long dining table, the glow of the chandelier hanging above both of you like a crown you never asked to wear. Jungkook's voice was steady, calm, and precise as always. Hana has an eye for detail. Even the way she presents herself mired. Graceful, it's the kind of voice people notice without her trying. The fork slipped slightly in your grasp before you regained control, piercing the meat on your plate as though it had wronged you. He wasn't smiling nor mocking, no, his words carried no weight of malice, just cold observation, facts as if carved into stone. You seemed to analyze her quite a lot. Your tone was light, almost playfully, but your chest tightened with every syllable. Chunguk's gaze lifted, dark and unreadable, his lips tilting in the faintest shadow of a smirk. I don't analyze wine, I state what is obvious. Excellence deserves recognition. The word stuck into you, sharp and merciless. You wondered if he realized how carelessly he wounded you or if he truly didn't care. Later, as we both crossed paths in the living room, his praise for Hannah resurfaced in the smallest, sharpest ways. He catch sight of the tea you had prepared and sat on the table. Without a word, he lifted the cup, taking a sip. His expression remained stoic, unbothered. Hannah makes her tea differently, stronger, less diluted. She once said bitter tea reflects reality better than sweetness lied. I find that accurate, and that you're drinking mine. Your words slipped out before you could stop them. His eyes flicked to yours, lingering for a moment too long before he set the cup down with a quick clink. Convenience, not preference. The dismissal was brutal and yet delivered with the same indifference he wore like armor. You stood frozen for a moment, then exhaled slowly, straightening your posture. You would not let him see the fracture in your heart. In the bedroom that night, silence pressed thick between you. He sat on the edge of the bed, scrolling through his phone while you pretended to read a book. Every page blurred together, your focus stolen by his earlier words. Do you ever compare me to her in your mind? It slipped out softer than intended, a whisper almost carried away by the hum of the night. Jungkook lowered his phone, eyes narrowing slightly as if studying you. Comparison is unnecessary. You and Hannah are different. For a fleeting second, hope sparked in your chest only for his next words to extinguish it. She stands out, you blend in. That's not criticism, one, it's just truth. Your lips parted, but no sound came out. The book slipped from your fingers, falling closed on the sheets. A hollow laugh trembled in your throat, but you swallowed it back, refusing to give him the satisfaction. You turned away your face to the wall, but inside your chest, jealousy burned with a heat you couldn't smother. When he finally drifted to sleep, you remained awake. The city lights filtered through the curtains, painting your face in fractured silver. His words echoed in your mind, casual, detached, merciless. Hannah stood out, you blended in. Tears welled in your eyes, but you wiped them away quickly. No, you would not break for him. Instead, your pride rose like a shield. If Jungkook fails to see your worth, you would not beg for it. If he wanted to spend his core admiration on Hana, let him, because you had already decided when the moment came where you needed someone the most, you would not turn to him, not anymore. You would carry your own weight or lean on anyone but him. The night was heavy, the sky swallowed by clouds as the rain tapped faintly against the windshield. One sat in her car on the side of an empty road, the engine dead, her phone glowing faintly in her hand, the dashboard clock ticked mercilessly. She was stranded. Her first instinct should have been Jungkook. He was her husband, after all. But the memory of his cold words replayed in her head. She stands out. You blend in. A bitter laugh escaped her lips. No, she would not give him the satisfaction of seeing her desperate. Her thumb hovered over his number, hesitating before she firmly pressed the screen dark. Instead, she scrolled down to another name, Teong. Within 20 minutes, headlights cut through the darkness. Teung stepped out, umbrella in hand, his warm smile easing the tight knot in her chest. Divine, you should have called me earlier. You're freezing out here. I didn't want to trouble you, but I had no one else. He glanced at her knowingly but didn't press. Instead, he moved to inspect the car, his sleeves rolled up. Engine is short. I'll tow it for now. Come on, I'll drive you home. As she sat in the passenger seat of his car, Wine felt the strange sting of both gratitude and humiliation. This was supposed to be her husband's role, yet it wasn't him who came. Meanwhile, Jungkook sat in his office, papers scattered across the desk. One of his men entered quietly, hesitation in his tone. Boss, Mrs. Jones' car broke down outside the East District. She didn't call you. Kim Tae went to help her. The pen still in Jungkook's hand, his jaw tightening, the faintest flicker of something unrecognizable flashing in his eyes. And you're telling me this because it seemed unusual, sir. Silence pressed between them before Jungkook dismissed the man with a wave. He leaned back in his chair, staring blankly at the glass of whiskey untouched beside him. She hadn't called him, not once. And yet, wasn't that what he had driven her to? When Wyan finally arrived home with Teung, Jungkook was waiting in the shadows of the hallway. His posture was unreadable, his expression carved in stone. Got her back safe. Car is at my garage. I'll fix it up tomorrow. Thank you, Tae. I owe you. Taeyong smiled softly, his hand brushing her shoulder in reassurance before he left. The door shut and silence followed the house. Jungkook's eyes followed her, unreadable yet heavy. You didn't call me. Wine met his gaze, her own sharp defense. Why would I? You have made it clear I blend into the background. I figured you wouldn't notice I was gone anyway. Her words sliced through the air like glass. She didn't wait for his reply, just walked past him, her chin high, leaving him standing there in silence. For the first time, guilt coiled in Jungkook's chest like poison because he had been right about one thing she hadn't turned to him. The storm had passed, but the house was suffocatingly quiet. You slipped out of your heels, your body aching from the long night. Jungkook stood by the window, his back to you, the glow of the city lights casting his silhouette in silver and shadow. He didn't move, he didn't turn, but the silence was too sharp, too deliberate. Finally, his voice came low, calm but edged with a blade that would drop blood. When the word cornered you, you didn't call your husband, you called him. Your breath caught, his tone wasn't raised, but the weight of his words pressed down like iron. He turned then, eyes dark, unreadable, every movement precise, controlled, vague, wrapped in silk. Kim Taeyong, of all people, my rival, the one man I will never forgive for outshining me. He took a slow step toward you, each footfall heavy with restrained fury. Tell me, Wine, what should I call that? Your trust or your betrayal? Your lips parted, but no words came. His eyes pinned you in place, sharp and merciless. It wasn't about rivalry, it was about who I could rely on in that moment. You have made me feel like I could not turn to you. That mission trembled in the air, raw and unguarded. For a moment, his mask faltered, the flicker of something hurt, perhaps crossing his features, but it was gone in an instant, replaced by cold precision. You're my wife, fine, mine. If I fail you, even if I fall short, you don't run to another man, especially not him. He leaned closer, his breath brushing against your skin. His words, both a warning and a claim, don't ever test me like that again. The silence that followed was suffocating, but beneath it, your pride still stood unshaken. You held his gaze, refusing to let him see your fear, even as his words burned into you like fire. The next days were tense, the air inside the mansion colder than winter air pressing against the glass. Chunguk didn't explode, he never did. But his silence, his sharpened tone, and his sudden possessive gestures spoke louder than any outburst. At dinner, his gaze lingered too long when you reached for your phone. Who are you texting this late, Ryan? A colleague, work doesn't sleep. Then let me see. The demand wasn't shouted, it was smooth, calm, almost polite, but it was an order, not a request. His eyes bored into yours, the kind of shit that ship to bear. You set the phone down deliberately, meeting his gaze with unflinching dignity. If you want trust, Jungkook, don't try to chain it. I'm your wife, not your prisoner. For the first time, something flickered across his face, not anger, not irritation, but a flash of vulnerability quickly buried beneath his mask. Later that night, as you slipped into bed, he pulled you against him suddenly, his grip iron around your waist, his breath was cold against your ear. You think calling another man once gives you freedom to test me, to remind me of what I have already lost to him? No, wine, I won't let you slip away, not to him, not to anyone. You're hurt, hammered, but you refuse to let your voice waver. You keep freezing Hannah, comparing me to her as if I will always be second best. Do you even hear yourself? I'm not Hannah Jungkook. I'm not a replacement. Your words were calm but sharp enough to drop blood. The silence that followed was thick, a battlefield where neither of you backed down. He exhaled slowly, loosening his grip just slightly, though his jaw remained tight. You think I don't know that? You think I don't see the difference? Hannah doesn't matter, Ryan, but you. He stopped himself, his pride choking the rest of the words. Instead, he pressed his forehead against yours, not tenderly but desperately, as though grounding himself. You closed your eyes, torn between pushing him away and holding your ground in silence. The heaviness between you was unbearable, his fear masked by possession, your pride masked by calm defense. His tone was low, strained with a desperation he refused to admit. You don't get to walk out of my shadow, why? Not for him, not for anyone. You held his gaze, your lips curving in a bitter smile that was an amusement, it was different, wrapped in grace. Your shadow, Jungkook, you mistake me. I never lived in your shadow to begin with. His jaw tightened, but you didn't stop. You compared me to Hannah as if I'm some stand, someone always falling short, but understand this. You place your hand over his chest, not tenderly, but firmly, pushing you just enough to create space between you. I'm not Hannah, I'm not a replacement, and if you are too blind to see my worth, that's your failure, not mine. The silence after your words was legal. His hands, once gripping you like iron, slowly fell to his sides. His breathing was uneven, betraying the cracks in his composure. For a moment, his cold, mask-lipped guilt flickered in his eyes. Raw and unguarded, but pride, stubborn and cruel, snapped it back into place. You would think you can just turn your back on me. You lifted your chin, your tone legal, unshaken. I don't turn my back, Jungkook. I walk forward. Whether you keep up or not, that's on you. With that, you stepped away from him, your posture tall, your dignity untouchable. The sound of your footsteps echoed in the silence, each one heavier than a scream. Jungkook stood rooted, watching you retreat, not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to walk away. And that more than Taeyong, more than Hana, was the real threat, the one he feared most.